Michael Ironside is known throughout Hollywood as one of the biggest badasses to ever roam planet Earth. Now, how can someone that's played characters in Starship Troopers, Karate Kid movie, and Major Payne make his name as one of the greatest characters in video game history? Simple. Make him Sam Fisher, the international super spy that has managed to save the world more times than we can even imagine. This is Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory isn't exactly revolutionary in its story. It would take about a year before Double Agent would do that, but it's interesting nonetheless. Instead of using some far-fetched tale that would probably leave most gamers with a smirk on their face, the game uses plot devices based around events that could hypothetically happen in areas such as Japan and the Koreas. I'm not going to give away too many surprises, but the story isn't as hard to believe as it might have been when the game was released 6 years ago. Splinter Cell had a pretty standard formula set out for itself after the first few games. The controls were pretty much set in stone, as were the gadgets that Sam Fisher would have at his disposal, but Ubisoft made a very good choice with Chaos Theory. They gave Sam a knife. This allows the player to have much more freedom throughout the level, so they can decide whether to knock out an enemy or slit their throat. Some of this freedom lies with the player though, as these choices don't always have a direct impact on the level of your score. Regardless, this simple inclusion of a couple inches of sharpened metal gives a sense of empowerment to the players that the first two games were lacking, and we can all appreciate that. By the way, I know I suck at this game. Now, as Splinter Cell is considered one of the premier stealth games in the world, it's very important that all of the components of this genre are executed well, and even for an original Xbox game, they do so with only one flaw, and it's a small stuttering frame rate at the start of a few sequences. But it's very minor, you won't see it very often, but when it happens, it can be a little bit annoying. But besides that, from the shadows and soundbars that Ubisoft chose to use, to the AI's reaction to every move you make, this is still the epitome of how stealth should be implemented in a video game.
Tell me something I want to know.
Ammunition.
If you're a more action-oriented player, you may have a little more trouble with this game, as the Splinter Cell series has always focused more on stealth and keeping that pistol in the holster. Shooting is not going to feel quite as fluent as the stealth portions of the game, but it isn't bad. The occasional headshot to a suspicious guard is always fun, unless you've triggered a few alarms, in which case it usually just leads to the bullet bouncing off their helmet. As Splinter Cell Chaos Theory was released near the end of the Xbox's lifespan, the visuals are some of the best that the original Xbox has to offer. Now, the only issue lies in the fact that this is a game that usually takes place in the dark, so it's going to be green most of the time with those night vision goggles. This green glow over the screen actually looks pretty good in its own right, but it's worth taking the time to explore some areas where you can see where you're going, so you can appreciate the amazing design that Ubisoft implemented into each level. When Chaos Theory was originally released, it also came with a co-op mode that just blew gamers out of the water. Unfortunately, with Xbox Live being cancelled for the original Xbox, this mode can only be experienced with a friend right next to you, but it's still worth it. This is one game that you and a buddy can spend hours playing together without even getting remotely bored. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory was released over 6 years ago, but it still managed to show us how amazing Sam Fisher's journey could be, even with our eyes set to the future. If you're into stealth, or even just mystery, suspense, and a pretty good story, you owe it to yourself to go pick this one up.